Hello, hello. Welcome. Hope you all had some time to join and hopefully everything's working. This is my first time live streaming, and I am currently on LinkedIn and Facebook. So if you can hear me okay, if you can see everything okay, feel free to leave a comment with where you're watching from or just to say hi. And I should be able to see your comments. I'm not sure if it's working yet, so this will be a little bit of a test run, but the idea here is I'll be doing a different live stream with a different topic every week, and then I'll be here to answer your questions, and they're really relaxed and casual. Nothing too crazy, just trying to simplify some financial concepts that are hopefully relevant to your life. So feel free to comment along the way, and if for whatever reason I'm not able to see the comments, I will figure out how to fix that and answer your comments later. And then in the future broadcasts, hopefully I'll be able to see them. I think there might be a way for me to even put them on the screen, which will be cool in the future. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm also going to record this. So if you're catching this in the recording, hi, thanks for watching. So yeah, let's get right into it. So today we're talking about what to do with a giant bonus check before you blow it. And bonuses happen sometimes throughout the year, sometimes it's once a year. It really depends on the company that you work for, but it's really easy to waste it or to not know what happened with your bonus. So we're going to talk about a few things, how to create a plan around your bonus so that you don't end up looking back saying, what happened to that bonus? I was really excited about it, and now it's gone and I don't know how I spent it. So my name is Spencer List. For those of you who don't know me or haven't joined any of these before, I am a certified financial planner. I was a former professional musician. If you were watching at the beginning, that was my song from my album 12 years ago now. So I used to play all the saxophones and woodwinds. I'm a holistic financial life planner for music executives. I'm not a big fan of small talk or holidays. I also don't drink caffeine. Hopefully we can still be friends. And outside of music, I like woodworking and hockey. MF Doom is my favorite artist, and I'm a husband and new father to a 5-month-old. So that's a new experience for all of us. So why is a former musician teaching financial literacy and now a financial planner for music executives? It's mainly because of this bank statement. This is a screenshot of my bank account, my checking account. In August of 2015, I had $67 left to my name. I had just returned from a tour to a really run-down rental home. At the time, I was paying $300 a month in rent. You can imagine what kind of place that was. And all of a sudden, up until that point, I was making a living performing, really enjoying my career, feeling like I was at the top, doing exactly what I wanted to do with my life and career. Yet I came home with not enough money in the bank account, right? So this was a wake-up call, and I really felt vulnerable and scared and unworthy, and 20 other feelings as well. And so I remember telling myself in that moment, I never want to feel this way again, and no one else in the music industry should either. It doesn't make sense that this is normal and typical in the music industry. So I started teaching myself personal finance through books and podcasts, and then eventually my curiosity led me to learn all of these topics at a professional level and become a certified financial planner. And then after years of working in financial planning, I started my own firm, Motif Planning, for music executives. And I still do pro bono work for musicians facing financial hardship and free education, including stuff like this. So I have a lot of resources on my website. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's why we're here. So hopefully I can help you in some way, whether it's through education or advice at some point. So just a disclaimer, we're not really talking about that much tax or investments, but I'm going to have the disclaimer anyway. None of this is personalized advice for you. I don't know enough about your situation. I don't even know who you are because I can't see exactly who's watching. So this is all just meant for education, and feel free to reach out separately if you want to ask questions, but purely educational only, and everything will depend on your personal life, your personal goals, your values, and priorities. So reality check. If 30% of your income lands in one paycheck and you don't have a system, that money's gone before you know it. And that goes to say, that's the same for any income that you're generating. If you don't have a plan for it, you're just going to spend it. And you might not know how you're spending it, right? So when you have a plan, you are a more active participant in your financial life. You have more control, and you'll be able to see improvement in your financial plan and your life when you are intentional with your decision making. So the bonus, it's not just extra cash. It's a wealth building opportunity that comes once yearly. It could be quarterly, it could be monthly, depends on your company. And it's also part of your income. It's not something that's extra special. It feels that way. There's a behavioral bias called mental accounting, where we mentally view different portions of money in different ways based on how we receive them. For instance, a lot of people who get inheritances from family members who pass away, they feel differently about that inheritance, right? There's an emotional attachment to that bucket of money, but let's just say it's $10,000 and you make $100,000. Really, it's just another $10,000 with your $100,000. It's all the same money. You can do the same things with it. And I totally understand why we feel differently about that money because of our relationship with that person. There's a lot of reasons, or the way that we earned the money, right? Especially with a bonus, you feel like you worked really hard all year. But in the end, realistically, objectively, it's the same money as the money you earn from your paycheck regularly. And you earned it. You earned both of those, your paycheck and your bonus, right? So it's important to see it more objectively. It is an opportunity in terms of timing. And when the bonus happens, you sort of have to make a decision. But the same could be said for your regular paycheck. You really need to be deciding what you're doing with that paycheck every time it comes in. And whatever you're currently doing with it, whether you think so or not, is a decision. So even if you have sort of your spending that's happening every month, even though maybe you're not actively thinking about it or deciding, by not actively deciding, you are deciding, right? So we definitely want to have an active plan around all of your income. But in the case of the bonus, there's really just a timing element to it that makes it feel different. So the challenge, without a plan, it's really easy to just upgrade your lifestyle. Our brains naturally think bonus. How do I add a bonus to my life, right? We feel like the way it came in is how it should be spent, which there's nothing wrong with that. We'll definitely talk about how to do that. But there are a few other things that we want to plan for as well whenever this happens. So, and it's going to vary depending on your situation, right? So I'm getting some notifications. This is the first time I've used this program. I don't think I can see your comments. But please do comment, and then I will fix this for next time and check out the comments later, and I'll reply to them directly. Okay, so here are just some of the high-level things I want to talk about. So the bonus mistake, so treating it as a windfall, like I said, kind of like an inheritance. rather than something to be strategic about. Like I said before, it's the same money, it's just a timing thing. And it might be kind of a lump sum, it might be a larger sum of money at that particular time. So if we treat it like a windfall, we might do nothing with it, right? We might not take advantage of some of the opportunities you might get when the bonus comes, or you might spend it all, right? But we can do something in between to help your past self, your present self, and your future self. So the 3-bucket system, so dividing your bonus into short-term needs, long-term growth, and tax obligations. And I'll get into that a little bit when I show you an example. Pre-assign every dollar. So this is something to do with all of the money that you earn, is you give every dollar a job, like a use date. What is the money for, and when do you need the money? Those are 2 questions to ask yourself that will help you make decisions around it. And so once you understand your goals and your values and priorities, it's really easy to look at that list and say, how much for travel, how much for our child, how much for a down payment on a house, right? There's all these different things. There's going to be a long list of things you could do with it, but you're going to have your priorities. What's most important? What do we need in the short term? What do we want to save for our long-term financial success and stability, right? And then, of course, we need to take care of taxes and make sure we're not getting messed up there. Common bonus traps. So spending on luxuries is obviously a really easy one. I've always wanted this nice watch or whatever it might be, or tickets to this concert, right? And you can still do that, but as long as it's intentional, right? Under saving for future goals. This one's really easy to miss because our future selves aren't here yet, right? What's usually more pressing for people is their past selves, right? Any debt that they might have is usually on their mind. And then what you kind of need in the short term, your present life is kind of next. And then the future, it's sometimes we feel like, oh, there's always time to figure that out later. I'll figure it out later, right? But if we keep doing that, we'll wake up one day, we'll be much older, and we'll have a little more stress around our future financial stability. And then tax obligations. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then automate transfers. So this is something that you can do with any form of your income. But with your bonus, if you know what it's going to be and when it's going to happen, you could set up some automatic transfers. There are some different systems that you can do that. I won't talk too much about that today, but that is a great way just for your cash flow to automate transfers. We have a bunch set up for different things. Like I know that I know roughly what my business will owe in taxes, and so I set that aside automatically every month into a high yield savings account so that when the time comes for quarterly payments, there's plenty in there to pay for it. And that's automatic, right? So I'm not thinking about it once it's set up. So there's some stuff you can do with that. With the bonus, it really depends on your situation, whether that's something that you could do. And there are some systems that you can do like percentages. Like if a certain amount of money comes into this account, automatically send a percent here, a percent here, a percent there. So okay, so when bonus management goes wrong, so this is a scenario where we're not thinking about what to do with our bonus properly. The 60-day spending spree. So we're just going out to eat more. We're upgrading our lifestyle, but only for so long until the bonus runs out, right? We certainly don't recommend this, but it's definitely possible, and it's really easy to do. It's really easy to spend money, especially as things are more and more expensive. As our lives go on, inflation and other economic factors, that's always going to be, it's always possible to easily spend that bonus, especially for those of you who work in California or New York. Those are high cost of living cities. I mean, it can be gone like that. The April tax surprise. So at your company, when you get a bonus, it's in almost all cases that they will withhold for taxes for that bonus, but it might not be enough. And so in this case, I recommend when the bonus happens, doing a tax estimate, and that will give you a more clear picture of what your tax situation will look like. And then you can decide whether you need to save a little bit more of that bonus for yourself personally to prepare for what you owe on that bonus, or maybe you need to adjust your withholdings. So that's the way to solve the April tax surprise, because that's no fun, especially in this case, if you've already spent your whole bonus and then you owe more in taxes than you thought you did, that money's not there to pay the tax, right? So that's a stress that happens in April if this is your path. And then the 300K treadmill. So you're making a lot of income, but you're not making any progress towards financial independence. You're not building wealth. And so what happens is you end up starting to rely on that bonus. And then when you're relying on that bonus, what happens when the bonus doesn't happen? Or the bonus increase gets frozen, or it's reduced because of XYZ, right? Especially in the music industry, as music executives, there's a lot of volatility, right? So it's certainly not something we want to plan for as a guarantee. But yeah, with your high income, we really need to be taking action to build wealth. So this is when it goes wrong and you end up just kind of being on the treadmill and not going anywhere. And then you get really attached to your career and you might start overworking because you really need that bonus this year, right? So there's a lot of things that could happen that I personally don't recommend living that kind of life. Okay. So when it goes right, we've got our goals, right? We're maxing out our retirement accounts. We're funding your dream vacation, building an emergency savings. We might be paying off debt. There's all types of goals that you might have financially that a bonus can really help with. And then you just have to determine how much goes towards each. And sometimes you'll find that the bonus really helps with a lot of those things. Other times you'll find that it just helps you chip away at them. And so there is a little bit of behavioral psychology here, is that if you get a $50,000 bonus and you've got a goal for travel, your emergency fund, and your retirement accounts, and maybe it's $15,000 each, that's $45,000 for the future. Now, granted, the vacation, that's more fun. That's kind of celebrating and patting yourself on the back. But the emergency savings and the retirement accounts, you're not really experiencing positive feelings from that, other than just this feeling of security of the emergency fund and that your future is going to be set up. Then you've got $5,000 left of that bonus, which, in this case probably goes to taxes. And so it can feel a little strange, where you get this bonus, you're feeling elated, and then you're doing the right things with it, and that feeling kind of deflates. So that's something to make sure you're aware of, because maybe you do want to set aside some of that for celebration, right? So, which I definitely recommend. Gap filling, so your bonus addresses financial needs your regular salary can't cover. This could be something like where you have a medical procedure this year. If you have a young child like us, there's the cost of daycare. It could be anything, right? So that's another way that your bonus could be useful, but also another way your bonus, can go away, right? So it can be used quickly, but we want to use it intentionally and for good purposes. And then accelerated progress, so you move ahead of schedule on your wealth goals instead of playing catch up. So this is something that once you're in this mode, the real reward here is, in most cases, early retirement. And once you are on track for retirement, using your bonus or like deferred compensation, stock options, things like things outside of your regular salary, you can drastically accelerate the age that you can retire and stop working. And so it really depends on what kind of life you want to live, the kind of work you do, and all that good stuff. It really depends on your personal situation, but I've seen it happen a lot, and people are surprised at how fast their plan has accelerated by doing something like this. So here's a quick example, $75,000 bonus. And in this case, the client, we've got $20,000 for taxes. And maybe on the bonus pay stub, they only withheld $10K. But we did a tax estimate. We know that we need to save another $10K. 20K of this $75K bonus is going to taxes. And like I said before, if you're in California or New York, you've got federal, state, and local taxes, and it's a lot of taxes, right? So we're going to make sure that the first thing that you do with this bonus is make sure you're covered tax-wise. And then the next thing is this client wants to travel and they want to improve their home, right? Maybe they want to update their back porch that's falling apart or something like that. And they want to do $5,000 for travel into their sinking fund there and $5,000 to fix up their home that really needs it. And then long-term savings, so $25,000 goes to their 401k, their IRA, their taxable brokerage, all depending on their plan, what makes the most sense to save for the future. And that leaves $20,000 for guilt-free spending. Do whatever you want with it. Throw a party, right? Or, buy people gifts. Do something for yourself. If you're in the music industry, spend it on taking care of yourself, or delegating things to other people, right? So you could do whatever you want with it. But here's an example of where you could possibly break this up and you're filling up all the cups. You are still celebrating and enjoying it. You're covering yourself on taxes so you avoid that pain and stress in the future. You're taking care of some short-term things that really feel good right now. And then you know that you're also accelerating your financial success in the future as you age, right? So that's pretty much it. Feel free to ask questions. This is my business motif planning. I do financial planning for music executives. I am flat fee, so it's just one fee. I don't sell products or make commissions or kickbacks. No hidden costs. I'm advice only, so I actually don't manage investments. I show you how to do them. And because it's in most cases, if you're in your 30s or 40s, you're a music executive, I can show you how to invest your own money. I don't need to take custody of your assets. And so I don't charge a % of your assets either. That's where the flat fee comes in. And then I'm holistic. We're not just talking about investments. We're talking about your personal goals, values, and priorities. We're going to develop a statement of financial purpose for you and your family. We're going to be looking at cash flow, insurance, investments, retirement, tax planning, estate planning, major life purchases and decisions, employee benefits, executive compensation, literally the entire picture of not only your financial life, but your entire life and how your finances can fit and support you living a fulfilled life. So feel free to schedule a free consultation and see if we're a good fit. But even if we're not, I'll find someone that can help you answer all of your questions. So just go to motiveplanning.com, schedule that. I'd love to meet you, learn more about your story. I surely won't be selling anything to you, so feel free to schedule a call. I'd love to hear more about you and answer any and all of your questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I will try to pull them up here real quick in a second and see if there are any comments. So I'll look at those in a second. I'm not sure if we have any, but you can go to motiveplanning.com. I've got plenty of resources on there to learn more. You can go to education, read my blog. I have a lot of different things. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how much is on there. You can connect with me at Spencer List. I'm most active on LinkedIn. That's my preferred place to hang out. So feel free to connect with me there. Send me a message, comment, whatever. I'm there. Posting videos every day, blogs, doing these live streams weekly now. And if you are watching, eventually I'll keep doing these polls to see what day is best. But if you put in the comments what day would be best to do a weekly live stream like this, just for probably 30 minutes or so, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, feel free to comment that. But I'll be polling viewers for the next few weeks to see what day is best, and then we'll figure out what time. But for now, I'll stick with Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Central Time. Feel free to email me, spencer@motifpainting.com. If you don't feel comfortable commenting, we can speak privately. Happy to answer your questions. And then subscribe to my newsletter. So let me take a second to... Let me go back here. Nice. And briefly check if we've got any comments. Okay. I don't think that we do. So I'll figure this out so I can see it more directly in my software to see the comments. But I hope you all have a good day, and I hope this was helpful. Hope you have a good rest of your day.